Today on the CTV News at 5, distracted driving anniversary.
People just aren't picking up on it. So we just have to keep being diligent with it and stopping as many as we can.
Are Southern Albertans still picking up when they're behind the wheel? Plus, embers from a fire pit caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage at a West Lethbridge home. And lawnmower racers rev it up at Cranbrook.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. A 37-year-old Spruce Grove man has died after crashing his Cessna aircraft in southern Alberta. It went down 10 kilometers south of Chain Lakes Provincial Park about 6 o'clock last night. RCMP are investigating the cause of the accident, but so far can't say what went wrong. In fact, investigators have had a difficult time even locating the crash site because of its remote location. It appears that the pilot may have been inspecting pipelines. When rescue crews arrived at the site, the pilot was already deceased. No name has been released. Kevin Green will have more on this on our news at 5:30 and 6. Well, this week marks the one-year anniversary of Alberta's new distracted driving law. Lethbridge police say while they've handed out hundreds of tickets, some drivers still aren't getting the message. Kayla Carr reports.
At this busy intersection in downtown Lethbridge, you can usually see at least one driver talking or texting on their cell phone.
All the time. Instead of it being up here texting, it's down low texting now.
I see it quite often, sadly enough.
Hit a lot of red lights and people who are stopped, or especially scenic drive, well, everyone's backed up and sort of waiting at the Tim Hortons or waiting at rush hour to get home.
It's these guilty behind-the-wheel acts that the province is trying to put the brakes on. But a year after legislation was passed making it illegal to drive while being distracted, Lethbridge police say the public needs to work harder.
You know what? I see it everywhere in the city. It doesn't matter where it is.
In the past year, Lethbridge police officers have handed out 887 distracted driving tickets. 873 of those were for cell phone use. 14 were for other offenses, including grooming, writing, and using a handheld GPS. Police say they've had calls from people reporting impaired drivers that have turned out to actually be distracted drivers.
Swerving, cutting through traffic, or cutting people off, but it ends up being somebody's texting or using their cell phone. A lot of times these days, people, it looks like as though they're trying to hide it now. I quite often drive around and notice people looking down at their lap as though they're trying to hide the phone on their lap while they're driving. Far more dangerous, and people just need to stop altogether.
Police say they're committed to seeing the number of distracted drivers drop dramatically soon.
People just aren't picking up on it. So we just have to keep being diligent with it and stopping as many as we can.
The fine for distracted driving is $172. Kayla Carr, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Now, since the legislation was implemented, Calgary officers have handed out 4,600 tickets for distracted driving, while Edmonton police have issued about 3,500. And police say distracted driving is to blame in a crash near Redcliffe this weekend. It happened around 10:30 Saturday morning. Mounties say the 17-year-old driver was using his cell phone when he lost control of the vehicle and it rolled. The driver and two other teenage boys were taken to hospital with minor injuries. The 17-year-old, who can't be named, is now facing distracted driving charges. And police have charged a Lethbridge man with impaired and dangerous driving, as well as failing to remain at the scene of an accident. Around 6 o'clock Saturday night, officers were called to a home in the 1800 block of 23rd Street North after a vehicle drove through a fence. The driver fled the scene and was later arrested by police. 30-year-old Jason Allen Chobiter is scheduled to make his first court appearance October the 3rd. Okay, David Spence, we've got a couple of warmer days before we actually go back to some cooler weather in the forecast. How hot is it going to get?
Well, today and tomorrow, I think 30s for sure. Today, many areas in southern Alberta did make the 30s, and I think we'll see some 30-degree plus readings again tomorrow in southern Alberta. However, after that, a cold front on Wednesday is going to bring temperatures down for the rest of the week. And while the weekend itself, and it's the September long weekend, isn't necessarily going to be a frozen solid washout or anything like that, it's going to be considerably cooler than we'll see for the next couple of days. We'll have more details on that later on.
Okay, thank you, David. Fire investigators say that wood from a fire pit that wasn't properly put out caused a blaze that ripped through a West Lethbridge home Sunday morning. The back of this two-story home in Micmac Court was destroyed when it caught fire just before 2 a.m. 2 people in the home and the family dog escaped unharmed. It took crews about an hour to get it under control. 2 neighboring homes suffered some severe heat damage as well. Neighbors say the residents have a portable fire pit that they use on the back deck.
I heard somebody starting a fire next door and stuff like that, and opened up my window, and next thing I know, it's like I heard glass breaking, and somebody saying, well, there's a fire next door, so I got out and seen the house next door was all engulfed.
The initial damage estimate is $200,000. Going from a story about fire to water, there are some big changes coming to programming this fall at both Nicholas Sharon and Stan Siwick swimming pools at Lethbridge. City officials say the changes are necessary to meet the major demand for swimming lessons. More lesson times and instructors have been added. In the past, there have been huge lineups for registration, and most classes sold out on the very first day. To make room for additional lessons, conditioned swims from 5 to 6:30 p.m. during the week are being eliminated, so there will be more conditioned swims, though, added on the weekends. For registration information, you can visit the City of Lethbridge website. A wind, storm, and rain didn't put a damper on Whoop Up Day's overall attendance this year. Crews packed up Sunday after another successful year. 71,400 people went through the gates during the 5-day festival, which is on par with last year. Though fewer people went on to the park on cooler days, attendance peaked during the warmer ones. Saturday's attendance of 24,000 people smashed the record for highest single-day attendance, and that's up nearly 3,000 from 2009's Moonlight Madness Day that held the previous record. Exhibition Park staff say that they are happy with their ability to meet the challenges of so many people at the park.
It's a great test in terms of our ability to handle people in large numbers over a long period of time, and it presents itself in many different facets of our operation. Being able to make sure that people get the food that they want and beverages, and keeping the park clean is certainly interesting, and parking people is always an interesting challenge at the best of times.
And a new festival launched over the weekend to celebrate the best of West Lethbridge. Westfest showcases local talent and businesses while offering some of the fun of Whoop Up Days on the west side. Thousands enjoyed a pancake breakfast and barbecue served up by the Black Tomatoes while listening to local artists. There were also bike demos, bouncy castles, games and dancers. Organizers plan to make the event an annual tradition.
I like to promote the West Side businesses just because they don't get a lot of attention. I mean, everything's on the north side, south side, and to have something over here would just be great. Have something on the west side that, you know, people want to come to, something that people can look forward to every year.
Raffles sold at Westfest also raised money for Boys and Girls Club of Lethbridge. A local business is serving up ice cream that makes you feel good in more ways than one. For the next week, ice cream at Marble Slab Creamery isn't only delicious, it also supports a good cause. $1 from each purchase will go towards programs for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lethbridge. This Big Brother match says that the ice cream fundraiser is one sweet idea. Organizers say it's important to connect kids with role models, and there's especially a big need for Big Brothers.
Well, I've never really had a male influence in my life, my whole life. And then when I met Big Brothers and Big Sisters, they gave me the chance to go out with like someone older than me and teach me skills that I need to learn.
Right now we have probably 50 children on the waiting list, 40 to 50 children on the waiting list. Some of them have been waiting for quite a while. The average is about 250 days. So that's a long time for a child to wait for a big brother or a big sister.
Cone for a Cause runs until September the 3rd at Marble Slab Creamery. It's the last weekend in August, and in Cranbrook, BC, that means one thing. It's time for the lawnmower races. Kimberly Davidson has the highlights.
In Cranbrook, the end of summer is marked by the smell of gasoline, the roar of lawnmower engines, and the taste of dust. This marks the 10th year for the Mower Nationals, lawnmower races hosted by Cranbrook resident Pete Durning.
The only rules are, and we made them up as we went, that it had to start life as a lawnmower. After that, we don't really care. Full modifications are open.
12 racers competed in the one-on-one heats on a sometimes unforgiving track.
it was real soupy over there in that one turn. And I that messed a lot of people up. I think I tried to stay up on the bank so I wasn't spinning my tires. Got really dusty down in the one corner on the far end there. And if you're following somebody through that corner, it could really mess you up.
When the dust settled, it was another win for last year's champion Sean Ray on his Craftsman lawnmower.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'll be back bigger and better next year. Three-peat.
And after a decade of lawnmower racing in his backyard, Durning says he has no plans of slowing this party down. Kimberly Davidson, CTV News, Cranbrook.
And to the markets, where once again today the loonie closed higher above parity than the U.S. greenback.